And like we did earlier this week, our first guest, we were having a conversation off the air, having some fun because, on this show, folks, and I can't speak for anybody else, but here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I've lost track, but at this point, we've had over 4,000 guests on the show at least. And building those friendships and building those bonds means more to me than wins and losses. I want to see those coaches win, but they know they could go 0 and whatever. They're welcome right here on this show, whenever, wherever. And the same thing if they went undefeated. It's important to me to tell the stories of student athletes and coaches and administration all around the world. And it has been my honor it'll be 20 years in November to do something, to live my dreams every day. And I was talking about it this morning off the air, early this morning, and I'm very grateful for it. And I hope the coaches and the players and everybody out there knows that, their story is always safe here and they're always cared about, because that to me is more than anything is making my world small in a good way. Inside of monpozpopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We're going to start the show off what we normally do on a Wednesday. So we've been bringing you a lot of bonus Dolphin Dive and AD and DT. So you're thinking of the schedule going, okay, this is an AD and DT week, then a Dolphin Dive. We've been doing so many of them, but today we're going to continue to make history, continue to push the envelope, and continue to under promise, over deliver. And I'm very happy to be able to have Dolphin Dive here with me this morning with Jeff Lonczak. We're going to be speaking on men's and women's tennis. He's the head coach of both. The men's team has clinched the top seed in the NE10 Championships as they head into the postseason. And if you don't know Jeff like I know Jeff, well, you're about to know that we will talk tennis, but we're also going to talk football. Big-time NFL fan, Chicago Bears fan. We'll forgive him for that. And we'll have plenty of stuff coming up here on the show with Jeff in hour number 1. And in hour number 2, you know that the tagline for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is where sports meets life, and it is going to live up to that in both hours of this show. We're going to dive deep in hour number 2 with Dukes Knutson, who has spent a lot of time with Major League Baseball as well as his faith. He's found a way to bond both of them in fellowship, and we'll be talking about God, faith, and baseball in hour number 2 with Dukes Knutson and his deep connection to the Tampa Bay Rays, who are having themselves a fantastic season. So very unique and wonderful people coming up here on the broadcast. We're going to start things off picture in picture with our Dolphin Dive piece inside of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Moyne College Dolphins. Here with Jeff Lonczak. Sir, how are you?
Doing well. Great time of year. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's a great time of year. It's a lot of fun. Your men's team just clinched their place in the NE10 Championships. For people that don't know tennis, we talk about it every time, kind of give people a little kind of look into the world of the fact that the women are playing most of their season before the spring, and the men, playing their season right now. So we have seen a little bit of action on the women's side, but a lot of it on the men's side, and kind of balancing and navigating both you and I have talked about. But how have things we'll start with the women. How did things look through the majority of their season, and what little you got to do here in the spring so far? What were your takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, we're very young. 3 freshman starters. Some all conference selections from those freshmen. So I mean, we're building. We had a pretty good year. I think in general, there was a couple matches we were inches away from winning, and it just didn't happen. I kind of chalk it up to a little bit of the inexperience and the youth. So I mean, next year, honestly, we're going to be just as young, but we'll have the freshmen will have that extra year, and I think hopefully we'll be a little bit better record wise towards the end in the spring. We competed pretty hard. Wilmington's top 20 team nationally. They were able to handle business against us, but we were close. I mean, we played them tough.
And like you said, I mean, the team has been young this season, and next season they'll be young, but they'll have that experience. What can that experience do when you have a young team and you have to go through the adversity? Because we live in a society where everybody wants everything right now. They want to literally start their job and be the CEO the next day. How do you teach these student athletes to say, hey, what you're going through right now, being a young team, because you're getting this experience, we're going to be better off. So we kind of have to take our lumps now so that we know what we need to do moving forward. How do you kind of teach them the patience of the game?
Yeah, I mean that is tough, and you're right. Societally, it's not so easy to grasp. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the freshmen, one in particular that I'm thinking of. I mean, the match play experience just isn't there. I mean, tons of tennis balls, beautiful strokes, and everything. So I mean, taking your lumps and learning how to win is kind of the biggest thing that we're trying to take away from that freshman year. And I do my best to say, hey, look, especially Stella, who plays number one for us. I mean, she's playing against the best player from a school every single match. So I mean, she's gonna have those lumps, and just trying to be patient and learn about yourself and learn about your game.
And then on the men's side here with Jeff Lonczak, the head coach of the men's and women's tennis teams on the Heights at Moyne, the men have clinched, as I said, the top seed in the NE10. You talk about the youth of the women's tennis team. When you look at the men's team, what are some words to describe who they are right now?
Old. No, I mean, totally different ball game in terms of the women and men. Just based on age. I mean, I have a sophomore that's number one on my team, and then my number two's 29 years old, and then my three's 23. I mean, the average age of my team here is almost 23 or 24. Eight guys are going to go off to greener pastures, graduate. So I mean, it's going to be difficult to replace. But yeah, it's different with a team like this. I mean, really, it's almost with the young team, it's like you're cooking and you're trying to go for it. You don't necessarily have a recipe. You're trying to do your thing. With the older team, it's like baking. It's tablespoons. Everything's perfect. In terms of your preparation. Hey, 1 hour before the match every single time. That's the big thing. If I can keep that and keep them confident. I mean, during the matches, I mean, these guys got so much experience. It's like, I mean, what am I doing besides making sure that a new can of balls is popped in the third set, I guess.
Yeah, and you talk about all the experience, though, and like you said, there's 8 that are going to be finishing up at Moyne after this season. So do you feel that sense of urgency for them, for you, that this is the last time you all get to do it together?
Definitely. I mean, and it's for me, like that sense of urgency, I try to keep that in the now and keep it in the present, but it's hard because I need to try to make my team as good next year or better. So, I mean, the recruiting, these past few weeks has just been insane. And I'm doing my best there, and I feel confident that we're going to do well, but yeah, trying to keep that, the mentality being the now. And it's funny because last night at practice, I'm just looking over things and I can feel the preparation level, the volume go up, and it's not even me anymore that has to sit there and bang a drum and say, dude, it's playoffs, guys. Yeah. Let's go. It's just there, and I can feel it and I can watch it and I appreciate it.
And when, like you said, when they can do that for you, when they could do that for this team, when they know what they need to do, they know the level that they have to be at. Like you said, what am I doing? I'm standing there just popping a new can of balls type of thing. To work to that place, how far has this group come when you look at the 8 that are going to be finishing up on the men's tennis team after this season at Moyne? How far have they come when you reflect upon where they all were when they came in?
Yeah, I mean, a long ways. I mean, the 8 guys. I mean, it's just so across the board. Two D1 transfers. University of Missouri, Kansas City, St. Louis. 3 undergraduate freshmen. 2 D2 transfers. 2 grad transfers. Yeah. So I mean, it's totally across the board. And in the age, the leadership. Some of these guys aren't rah-rah leaders, but the fact of the matter is that when you get on the court with them, their attention to detail during the course of an hour and a half, 2-hour practice, that makes them leaders. I mean, and like Peter, this guy's unbelievably talented sophomore, 5-star American. I could every once in a while he'll say to me, he's just say, I got to hit with Manny. Like, I got to hit with Manny because I know that if I practice with Manny for an hour and a half, it is intense.
Yeah.
We're not taking time off. That's what it is. So that stuff just it echoes throughout the program.
Here with Jeff Lonczak, the head coach of the Moyne Dolphins men's and women's tennis teams, in this edition of the Dolphin Dive, live for you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora exclusively. So, like you said, with these guys kind of knowing what they needed to do and growing, how would you describe them when they came in, and how would you describe them now? If you had like 3 words to describe the 8 that have grown through this program to what they are now, because like you said, you've had D1 transfers, you had grad transfers, and this, that, whatever. If you could look at them as a unit and look at these, almost 10 players and say, this is how I would describe them day one. This is how I describe them right now.
Yeah, I think and hopefully this is one thing that I can try my best to give to them. In the beginning, freshman year especially, I'd say one word descriptor is unsure. And now I'd like to say confident, and that's as dumb and blind as my confidence is, I hope that I can kind of help them with that. So yeah, that's it. Like just from a you can see their posture from freshman year to senior year, and their shoulders are back and their heads held high, and nothing's going to waver their commitment and confidence.
And having that confidence and having that connection, what's your relationship been like with them? Do you feel, as a coach, I feel like so many people from the outside looking in, they just want you to teach and they want you to win, but you're a different type of guy. You're a different type of personality. I remember coming to one of you, the first time you and I talk, I came to one of your matches and you just walked over to me and, we were talking for like 20 minutes toward the tail end of everything. We were talking about the NFL and this, that, and whatever. You're very personable. So what is rewarding for you when it comes to the relationships beyond winning?
Yeah. I love these guys, hopefully I have, like I told you before, hopefully I have a place to stay in Paris and in Barcelona and all over Europe. But no, it goes on forever. And I try to do my best to help them in anything that they need, in terms of a letter of recommendation or anything like that. But, I think they always know that they can rely on me. I'm not good at asking other people for things, and they know that. And hopefully like they can see kind of my relationship with the tennis world in Syracuse and people in general. And I think it rubs off on them a little bit, and I am really different. I don't, I try my best not to judge anybody because I don't want to be judged myself. And I try to treat everybody the same. And I think they see that. And I think they kind of, they understand where I'm coming from. Like a lot of these guys are going to be in the business world and in high pressure intensity positions where they're not gonna sit there and think about the person that's running them the papers, for their position. But maybe over the course of 70 road trips and buses with bus drivers, it might not always be in the best headspace. Maybe they could see that, hey, look, Jeff's going to talk to that person. Jeff's going to do the best to try to make them alleviate some of their concerns on this trip. And, maybe they'll treat people, in the proper way.
Like you said, you're different in your approach to things and how you handle things and the type of individual that you are. You have never, like I said, we've had over 4,000 people on the show, and you meet a lot of different coaches, and sometimes with that you meet different egos. You don't seem to have that. You don't seem to have the don't talk to me, or I'll spend a minute with you because I'm way too busy, but in actuality, you're not busy. You're just going to your car to eat a candy bar. There's that coach. There's that coach of I have 3 minutes, but they really have an hour and a half. You're not like that. You're that coach where someone goes, "Hey, can I have 5 minutes?" And you're like, "What about 20?" So why are you that type of coach? Why are you that type of person that is just so kind and giving of your time because you're busy? I mean, you play tennis yourself. You got the two teams. You're recruiting. You have all these things that you have to do. You have family that you take care of. And yet, I have never interacted with you in a way where I don't hear right back from you and we don't figure something out and work something out, and you always spend time. We could finish an interview. We're talking for another 15 minutes about something in the NFL, the weather, what's going on, a place we like to go to eat. You're not your average coach. Why do you think you are the way you are?
Thanks, Dan. I mean, definitely. I mean, I am different. My upbringing. My family. So I'm an adopted kid out of Catholic Charities. 6 weeks. I was adopted by two amazing parents who never treated me different. Who told me this from the beginning. So I've always had this weird thing where I never really felt like I fit in anywhere, just because of it. Yeah. So like over the course of my life, like I really sit there and I'm a thinker, and I try to look at people and look at relationships and find people that model the way that I want to be. And, I mean, I've made so many mistakes, I can't have a big ego, I have accomplished some things, sure. But like, you live and you learn. And the last thing I want to do is hurt anybody along the way. I mean, I try to do my best. And as a human being who is fallible, to say the least, I try to learn from those mistakes, and I don't want to be treated any different than anybody else. And, I love life. I love the world. I love coaching my teams, and, I'm better than no one. I truly believe that. So
why do you love the world? The world is crazy right now. The world every single day. It's like, I said this a couple days ago. I was like, I know this and I know this and I know that. And I don't even watch the news. I was talking to somebody on the phone. I was like, I know like 5 bad things that happened today, and I don't watch the news. I don't know how the news got to me, but I didn't want to know the stuff that I know and what the heck's going on. So why do you love the world today when the world today has so much hate that is put in the media? And this is a firm belief that I have, and this is not to load the question. I don't believe there's more hate than love in the world. I think the media focuses on the hate and doesn't talk about the love, and it builds the perception that hate is greater than love. But I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Dan, I think about this all the time. And it's funny, like my news is my girlfriend telling me about something, because I do no social media, and I don't watch the news, which sometimes is regrettable, but humanity gives me hope, I guess. Like, yes, human beings, and a lot of them are filled with hate and are filled with a lot of negative traits. But as a whole, I think we can turn around any mistakes that we made. I mean, the things that we've kind of done to our planet, it makes me sad. But I always believe that we can turn it around, and the power of positivity. That's the one thing, over the course of my life, I've learned from people that are philanthropic, people that are wealthy, people that are poor. I've learned from them that if we can kind of maintain that positive energy, good things will come of us, and we can kind of spread that throughout the world. So, I mean, it's so easy for me to think about the negative, because there's a lot of it, but like at the end of the day, like, I mean, well, we got so much to be thankful. I mean, God, I'm a tennis coach, I mean, like, that's it. Like, this is what I love, and this is what I breathe. So I'm lucky.
Yeah, and like you said, people, as much as humanity has its issues, it's the irony that humanity has issues, but humanity also gives you hope. That you see what human beings do, but you also see what human beings do. and it's a reminder every single day. How would you describe the community on the Heights at Moyne, and what at Moyne gives you hope?
Yeah, I mean, family. I mean, that's the one word. It's one of those things where, like, I've been lucky enough to work with, a lot of people in a lot of different offices, from the bursars to the registrars to admissions, all of them. And, they'll sit down and give me the time to try to figure out a way to get this kid eligible next year, and at the end of the day, what are we talking about? We're talking about one kid in a undergraduate freshman class that's hopefully 400, let's say 500. I don't even know if that number's accurate. Yeah. But so they've always given me the time, for that. And really the other thing besides family that I believe in about Moyne is that the number one care is the student. So I mean, I feel like if that wasn't the case, I mean, I wouldn't be here. And the thing about that is that, with these players, I have these conversations with them and talk about, like, what's best for you. Hey, guess what, coach? I got a job offer in Orlando. It's 2 months in Orlando, and then I'm going to move to Tampa. I'm from England. They're able to give me a year here. I'm not going to do my master's next year. Gee, I relied on you to be a part of my team. Well, I want you to do what's best for you, number one. I'll figure out a way to, quote unquote, replace you. But at the end of the day, your career, your life is more important to me than my quote unquote team, So yeah. I think we all kind of share in that thought.
Yeah, and that, like you said, putting their future before, your personal desires and personal wants. It's a hard thing to do, and it's funny because literally right before I went to bed last night, I was watching Ted Lasso. And I was told a long time ago, like, you have to watch Ted Lasso because it'll remind you of, like, things that you do because you're positive, and you try to have positive messages every day. And that's what he does, and it's funny, and, it's this adversity and somebody who believes in things and whatnot. And last night, and I didn't see what happened, but last night it was, this woman loves this guy, he's on the team, they're both connected to the team, and she has to decide, do I ask him to stay because I want him here with me, or do I tell him to go because it might be something that personally means a lot to him? What do I do type of thing. And it's funny that you bring that up. And that's why I tell people, you can believe in God, not believe in God, but God is so poetic in my life that you say something that I literally just watched and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like and I've been there, you've been in places before where you say to yourself, is this the right thing to do? I remember I dated somebody when I worked at Disney. She was there temporarily. I was living there, and I was working at ESPN too. One of the affiliates down there. I was working at ESPN. So we're both down there, but she was on a temporary trip. She was there for the college program, and I knew she missed home. I knew her family wanted her there. I knew that, like, no matter how much she would love it, weeks would go by, and then she'd cry. Days would go by, then she'd cry because she missed North Carolina. And no matter what I said or did, I didn't want to hold on to that and then have her live with that regret. And so I think it's one of the hardest things to do, what you brought up, but it also shows that you care about people and souls and other people's happiness and quality of life more than you care simply about yourself, Jeff. And knowing you over the last couple of years, I don't expect anything less, but it's one of the most difficult decisions to make is say, this is what I want, but what do they want? Because a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but some people only think about what they want and they don't take into account what somebody else is desiring in their life.
100%. Yeah, no, I got a 9-year-old daughter, so I know what it's like to only think about yourself and not to say something bad about her, but I was probably worse when I was 9. So yeah, no, I 100% agree. And yeah, I mean, what? So I mean, okay, a guy kind of changes his mind last minute. I'm going in the NBA program. I'm playing for you next year. And now I'm not. I have an opportunity. What? I mean, okay, guess what? I work harder. That's it. Plain and simple. I got to work harder to replace another guy. That's it. Like at the end of the day, I mean, but Ethan, look, I mean, now he's going to be set up in what he wants to do. I mean, I also know, and at the end of the day, this guy, he's a little bit burned out from tennis. He's played his whole life, man. So, I mean, I totally understand his decision. And while it may not in the moment feel like it's the best for me, like I know it's the best for him. I know what he wants. So who am I to stand in the way of that?
Yeah, and you say that, and again, I mean, it shows your character, it shows who you are, and it shows that you do care about other people because, it's hard to lose somebody, and like you said, with, Ethan Miller and what he brings to the table and, coming from England and what he's brought to this team. But, it also, I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. It makes this run so much more sweeter, right? Because now you have the opportunity to look at him and say, okay, I mean, you can almost joke with him and say, okay, well, you're leaving me, so that means we got to win a championship. If you played this game all your life, you've been doing this all your life, like you said, all this time that you put in, before you go to the next chapter of your life, let's put an exclamation point at the end of the chapter, not a period, not a question mark. And I think that makes the run even more sweet.
You got it. No, I mean, I've already said that, and I'll be saying it again this week for sure. Yeah, I got a funny feeling. I mean, we took a couple of losses during the season, for whatever reason, and I got a funny feeling that we're coming together, and I think we're gonna be able to turn some heads this week and next weekend.
And here with Jeff Lonczak, men's and women's tennis head coach at Moyne, as they step into the postseason for the men's side of things. We see, like you said, you took a few losses this season, 12-3 overall in your matches. What can you say about what you had learned within those losses? Because a couple of them came within a 3-game period, Southern New Hampshire and Queens, which Queens happened on April 6th, Southern New Hampshire on April 12th, almost a week later. And then beyond that, the only other one was the one that we talked about when you were on the show before, which is February 26th at the University at Buffalo, which is a Division I institution. So only 3 match losses, 2 of them coming in April, 1 of them back in February. What has it taught you, and what was it about these most recent losses that you think you can correct quickly?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Queens is just a very tough team. In a tough environment to play. I made some coaching decisions that I think we're on the way to working out. We were up a set and a break at number 3 with our all-time wins leader in both singles and doubles, playing a guy who was beaten twice, close, but beaten twice. And he rolls an ankle. So he can't move the rest of the match. And we kind of end up losing for that reason. Not to make an excuse, but I mean that definitely. If he had won, which I think he would have, if he stayed healthy, it's down to Mid-Annie at 2. He had already been on the court for 2 hours with a very tough Spanish kid, 3-2 in the third. So I've only seen him lose one singles match in his career, and that guy's playing number 1 Boise State. So I put my money on Manny. And then Snoo, yeah, I mean, we same thing. Tom was he was out for over a week, so we didn't have him, our all-time wins leader, playing third singles and second doubles, and we lose 4-3. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I have a lot of confidence going into this week and next. Tom's feeling good. He's healthy. He looked really good on Saturday. So, and just having him, even he couldn't come to Southern New Hampshire with us. Just having him. It feels right, So I mean, there's something missing. Even if he didn't play, like there's just something missing without having him there. Just that alone, maybe we could have ended up beating him without him. But now with him, yeah, I mean, I love our chances.
And we look at where things are at this season as we went through this schedule. Merrimack, who you went up against, defeated them 6-1 in your match on the road, and Merrimack used to be in the NE10. Now they're in the NEC in Division I, and the University at Buffalo, like we said, you've put yourself against teams that are in D1, Colgate D1, you beat them 7-0. So we know that these Division One matchups happen, and in the case of Merrimack specifically, this is an old foe inside of the NE10 that's now in the NEC. So with all of this looming in the background of the potential of becoming a Division One institution, what do you think about it being a coach who schedules Division One teams and beats them already?
Yeah, I mean, we're ready to go. There's been murmurs of the transition for a while, and we're ready to go. Me in particular, like Division One's always been kind of a dream of mine as a coach and a player. And the difference in tennis from D2 to D1 isn't like drastic, as you can kind of see with the schedule. I think it'll be easier for us to make a competitive schedule being D1 for sure, because so many teams that are close by that, they don't want to lose to D2 schools, to be honest. I'm not going to name names, but there's a lot of that going around. So, I mean, that's not going to exist anymore if we're D1. And yeah, I mean, the guys that are coming back that have heard this stuff, they're right on the same page with me. They think it's an opportunity and they want it.
And you kind of said it, and you said you're not going to name names, but do you feel like people won't schedule Le tennis because of the threat that you bring?
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on in terms of D1 schools. And in D2, it's similar, but it's they always kind of hide behind the budget thing, so I can go to them and play them, but they won't reciprocate and play me here. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of D1s locally. I'd say pretty locally, that they're not going to schedule us just because they don't want that potential to lose to a D2 school.
Well, if you go D1, rivalries. So
right. Close by.
What'd you say?
I mean, these schools aren't far away. I mean, our conference, our average trip is about 4 hours. There's D1 schools that are less than 2 hours and 15. So it'd be great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, Jeff, before I let you go, we're going to get into the NFL in a second, but I want to go back to something that you said, which was really compelling and something that I did not know about you until you said it this morning, and that is the fact that you, like you said, you were adopted. Catholic Charities, you were a baby when that happened. What do you want to say to Catholic Charities about that, hindsight 2020, knowing the family that you have, and just what it's done for you in your life? I know you said it kind of made you feel like you never really fit in anywhere, but some kids never get picked up. Some kids never find a home. Some kids bounce from foster home to foster home. And I also, we have a family where many of the children have been adopted into our family, and I don't know the difference. Honestly, it's funny. My aunt adopted I call them my little brothers because we're more like brothers, but Nico and Miguel were adopted into the family. But if you look at my aunt and you look at them, she looks like she's their mother. Biologically, they look almost the same, and it's the craziest thing in the world because Miguel's from Guatemala and Nico's from Peru. And she's from Central New York. So yet they look the same. It was almost like they were meant to be her kids. And shout out to my Aunt Ev as well for the family that she has raised. So we do have many in our family, that being 2 of them. I'd love to hear a little bit more of that story and maybe what you want to say to Catholic Charities that, I mean, all that time back, you couldn't speak for yourself. Now you can.
Yeah, I mean, what a lucky situation for me in particular to have grown up in with 2 extremely loving parents that just couldn't have kids on their own. So, I mean, I feel totally blessed. Catholic Charities did obviously great for me. Yeah. I mean, it was a source of, it was a closed adoption. So back then it was difficult to really figure out any information. I found out a lot of stuff through 23andMe later on. That's fascinating, and in a way where like, me, my whole life, I've known I was adopted. I've been adopted. These are my parents. I don't think of anything else. I still had an opportunity to figure out, where I came from, so that was almost like completing in a way in my life. But it's also one of those things where, and it's hard for people who aren't adopted to understand, is like, okay, like these these are my real, my birth parents, my biological parents, and I do feel a connection to them. But at the end of the day, like, they're really the connection. It's not like it is with my real parents, who I consider my adopted parents, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I've come full circle with it. It's something, and it's not that I never felt like I fit in, but like, just I'm very different by nature, of my adopted family, and the nurture aspect has made me who I am, for sure. So I mean, it's been cool to think about it, from a psychological perspective, like just look back on life, and all my dreams pretty much have come true. So I mean, I'm totally blessed, and definitely Catholic Charities being a facilitator of that has been awesome.
What would you say to someone that, having gone through it, and to literally be, a part of adoption, and what's really started your life very, very early on, what would you say to someone who doesn't know what to do? Doesn't know, hey, do I want to be a parent? Do I want to have this kid? If I have this kid, do I want to keep the kid? Do I want to put it up for adoption? What would be words of advice, having been someone who's been adopted, and knowing how many people out there are trying to adopt, and how long it can take, and all of that? From what you know about it, what would you say to someone who's considering having a child, but, putting that child up for adoption?
Right. Yeah. I think about it all the time, and a lot of times where things, maybe do get bad for me, I think, geez, I'm lucky to be alive at the end of the day. Right. Like, my mother was 15 when I was born. My birth mother was 15, or excuse me, my mother was 16 when I was born. My father was 15. So, I mean, and they had, 10 brothers, and, my father, I think, had eight brothers and sisters. And it was going to be one of those situations where it was going to be my quote unquote grandmother, I guess, kind of raising me, and she didn't want another kid, type of thing. So yeah, I mean, the biggest gift that they could have done was kind of choose to go the adoption route. So, I mean, I think, it's a great option. It's probably the best option. I don't like to tell people what to do, or how to think, but I'm just lucky and blessed to be here, to be alive, and I'm going to try not to take that for granted, for sure.
I appreciate that, and I'm happy what happened, in the sense of, it might have been hard in the beginning, it might have been tough, but you've talked to me about your mom before, and the way that you speak, and the care that you give, it shows me that there has to be love in that house, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. And I'm 37 years old. Like you said, you have a 9-year-old daughter. I'm 37 years old, and I've always wanted to have kids. It's funny when people say, do you have time for anything when you're chasing your dreams? And I tell people, anyone that actually knows me, yeah, I know that someone's a stranger when they ask me that. Do you even have time for a relationship? Because since I was a little kid, I've always been the same way. The biggest dream I've ever had: fall in love, that love be real, have a child or two or whatever, because I love that. I love being connected to, building someone, just helping somebody be raised and learn and live, and see them see a butterfly for the first time, and go to Disney for the first time, and, swing their first tennis racket, or whatever it may be, to just go out and have fun with them. And, I think and my friends have made me an uncle so many times, that it's funny when I meet people for the first time. They say, do you have siblings? And I say no, and then I say I have 13 nieces and nephews, and they give me that look like, how do you have nieces and nephews? And I'm like, because my friends have become my family. They become my brothers and my sisters, and so they're children from a tiny they only know me as Uncle Dan. And so to me, I love that world, and I appreciate that, and I value that so much. And the life of a child is there's no price value on it. So to know that, to know the person that you are that I've known for the last couple of years, and then to know more of your story today, I'm even more kind of wowed and appreciative of that, because if I mean, if I had known anything, I would have just thought like, oh, you grew up in a great family, a whole lot of love, and it's like you grew up in a great family, a whole lot of love, but it came with somebody making a sacrifice and someone taking a chance. And, your life started with someone taking a chance on you, which I would imagine reminds you every single day when you're coaching and you're recruiting to take a chance on other people.
Yeah, sure has given me a lot of perspective, and yeah, I mean, I'm blessed to be here, and I just hope that, I can leave some sort of impact for some people. I hopefully, when I do leave this planet, hopefully my players can tell some stories about me, man. I mean, that's what I want at the end of the day. I want them to say, God, I remember that. I remember on a trip to Southern New Hampshire when you got a phone call saying your apartment was broken into. 15 minutes later, they called and your kid threw a remote at the TV and broke it, and you haven't been able to watch any of the lead up to the NFL draft. But you know what? You were still pretty cool. That's all I want.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, there's stuff in life, and I tell people all the time, when you're gone, when life is done, whether or not you believe in God, I still think you're going to meet him. And when life is over, the only currency that you have is your soul. And I tell people that all the time, your currency is your soul. What that means to me is that God takes it almost like it's like a DVD and inserts that into that heavenly device and watches back how you treated people. The only currency you have when you're done is how you treated others and how you treated yourself. That's your currency. There's a reason why there's no money in heaven. There's no cars, there's no houses, there's none of that stuff. It's just, what have you done? Is your soul black? Has it lost? Is it tar? Has it disintegrated? Or is it bright? Is it shining? Was it dim at times, but is there still a light within it? We're all going to get hit with something. But I think that, when God downloads my soul when I'm all done, I would like to hope that though I have made plenty of mistakes, that at the end of that video, I will have watched more good than bad and be more proud than sad. And I feel like if people treated every day like a chapter in their life, I always tell people, you're writing a book and you have to determine whether or not you want to read it. If you write your book every day you're writing your life, and at the end of your life God says, let's read the book, and you go, no, I don't want to read that book, then start changing stuff. Because I'm a firm believer that you should only write a book that you're willing to read yourself.
That's a great way to look at it. Both of those examples. Yeah, I mean, it definitely spoke to me, and I couldn't agree with you more.
So with that being said, as we got deep and philosophical, now we're going to get deep and philosophical about the NFL draft. So this is the weird thing about the draft. Now, I looked at it a million times. I thought I was losing my mind, Jeff. And so Jeff Lonczak here with us talking about so many wonderful things, deeper than sports as we always do. Dolphin Dive, Moyne men's and women's tennis head coach, and heading to the NE10 Championships as the top seed for the men's team. And now we're going to finish up hour one with Jeff about the NFL before we jump into Dukes Knutson joining us on Faith and Major League Baseball and how they have bonded for him for many, many years. So the NFL confused the heck out of me when I was trying to figure out where the Jacksonville's pick was. Now, in the last couple of years, it hasn't been hard to figure out because it was at the top. So I didn't have to look at anything. Okay, number one pick, fine. Number one overall. But now, because Jacksonville finally got some good things going for us, thank goodness, and I hope it continues, I was like, are they the 25th pick or the 24th pick? And I couldn't understand it. And I don't know if you looked at round one to assess this. They're the 24th pick, but it's really the 25th pick because Miami forfeited the 21st pick, so there's only 31 picks in the first round, even though there's supposed to be 32, which became outrageously confusing. So I want to know if in your research you had seen that, because when people asked me what pick Jacksonville had, I was like 25, 24, 24, 25, and then I looked it up and I was like, why does it say both? Did you look at that?
Yeah, no, well, yeah, it hit home with me a little bit, and I'm sad about it, to be honest, because we traded there probably maybe week 8 or 9, we traded our second round pick to for Chase Claypool of the Steelers, which anyways, we stink, so we're obviously at the top of the second round. So I noticed, I was like, wait a minute here, wait a minute, this is the 33rd pick. Wait, no, this is the 34th. The Dolphins, yeah, forfeiting that selection. So yeah, that made that that made that trade even worse, I guess, for us.
Yeah, so Chicago, though, I mean, Chicago's obviously made some moves here, as we had spoken about before, but you have pick number 9, and that pick's from Carolina. You swapped picks as you gave up a bunch here. Well, I should say Carolina gave up a bunch in order to get your number 1 pick, so you had to shift some things around. So Carolina had a lot of draft capital. You have things to build you toward the future, either in this draft or moving forward, but Carolina getting that number 1 pick from Chicago drops you down to number 9. Here's the question: do you keep Justin Fields as your number 1 guy, or at number 9 do you draft a quarterback? What do you do in the top 10?
Gosh, I mean, I think we're pretty much sold on Fields. Yeah, I mean, I think their opinion is that if they can get him the weaponry and the protection, then he is that franchise quarterback. I will say this: I wouldn't it wouldn't totally surprise me if the top 4 picks are quarterbacks. If Arizona trades back and gets out of that 3 spot, I mean, obviously they wouldn't pick a quarterback with Kyler Murray, on their roster. But I think if they trade back, you're going to see Young, Stroud, Richardson, and then maybe Levis goes 4. I don't know. I think the top 4 could all be quarterbacks.
Yeah, which would be absolutely nuts. And
crazy.
It would be crazy to see something like that, especially because they said last year, before the draft even started last year in 2022, they said, oh, this isn't the year of the quarterback. There's not many quarterbacks, whatever. 2023 is what we're looking at. 2023, guys, that's the year that it's going to be blah, 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 whatever. And then I'm looking at it this year and I'm going, I'm not necessarily overly wowed, though. Like when I was talking to my buddy about the number 1 pick, I was like, there's no definitive. It's not like, oh, Trevor Lawrence. Is it C.J. Stroud? Is it Bryce Young? Anthony Richardson's going up the draft board with some people. There's no clear-cut guy. And the way that they made it sound over a year ago by some of the pundits out there is that, oh, it's, this class is going to be so great and so incredible and this, that, whatever. And I always I'm not a hype guy. I'm a come out and show me type of guy. And that's what I think about, because anybody could say things, but very few people are going to actually do them. And so I pay more attention to what you do rather than what you say, and I see if they link up to each other. So I wasn't overly about the 2023 quarterback class, and I'm still kind of sitting here going, I don't know if there's a true number 1 guy. But going back to your trade, you flipped the number 1 pick to get the number 9 pick. Now, you also acquired wide receiver DJ Moore from the Carolina Panthers, a 2nd-round pick in 2023, a 2024 first-round pick, and a 2nd-round pick in 2025. So you swapped your picks, got number 9. You got a 2nd-rounder. So even though you lost that one to Chicago or Pittsburgh in the trade, you still have one in the 2nd round. So you got a 1st-round pick in the top 10. You got a 2nd-round pick. You got a 1st-round pick in 2024, wherever that's going to be. And you have a 2nd-round pick in 2025. And you got DJ Moore, all for the rights of giving up the number 1 overall pick. Did your thoughts on what you took in compared to what you gave up?
Yeah, I love it. And from my understanding, they would not make a move without Moore being included. Like that was the thing. So I mean, you're sitting there with hopefully Moore's the number 1 wide receiver. You got Darnell Mooney off of injury, who's pretty good, and then you traded for Claypool, so you better kind of see if he can do it. And building for the future, obviously huge. For that 9 pick, for me, I'm a lot different in my perspective than a lot of Bears fans, I guess. I'm thinking, I think best available player is huge. If Jalen Carter's there, I mean, I know he's had off the field issues. I would go that route, or and this is we have pretty good defensive backfield, but Devin Witherspoon I think is going to be a stud cornerback. A lot of people see us taking Skoronski from Northwestern. I don't really like that. The short arms. I mean, if we're looking at getting a tackle, I want a big long arm tackle. I don't want a guy that might have to move to guard, when he gets in the league. So I like Paris Johnson or Braxton Jones better. But if they fall to you guys, man, you guys, I know you guys are looking for interior help too. I think I think the tackle class is pretty deep, and guard class for that matter. So I mean, there's good guys out there. It's just for me, when you're as bad as we kind of work, getting the best player available, you can fit that guy somewhere, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think Jacksonville, I think it's offensive line, maybe defensive line, probably offensive line in my opinion. Could go after Matt Bergeron from Syracuse. We'll see. He's worked out with the Jaguars a little bit. I saw it firsthand recently here, and hopefully we'll be able to connect with Berge. I know I talked with him on Pro Day, so looking forward to that. You got some good moves though. You brought in my guy PJ Walker, who I covered at Temple, to back up Justin Fields. Dante Foreman there. Khalil Herbert's done some good things. Travis Homer, I covered him in college as well. Got DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, another guy covered his team in college for Tulane. And, you got Claypool there and Robert Tonyan and Cole Kmet. There's definitely some offensive depth when you look at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, all of those positions on Chicago that I like more this year than I've liked in the last 3 or 4 years. So I can tell you, with you being a Bears fan and me not being a Bears fan and having another team that I call home, I can look at this team from a total outside perspective and tell you that I like what your team has right now more than what I've seen in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, me too. I'm pretty pumped. I mean, I think free agency we didn't. Maybe we overspent for Tremaine Edmonds, but otherwise, I mean, I think we made frugal moves, generally speaking. And I mean, geez, our linebacking core all of a sudden got pretty good, So yeah, it's definitely trending in the right direction. Hopefully, like your Jags from the previous year to this past year.
Yeah, and we got to keep trending in the right direction because we have just gotten started, in my opinion. We are not done. We have not won anything. We've just gotten started. So that's coming from Jeff Lonczak, and I appreciate it. You spent the whole hour with us here with the Dolphin Dive talking about very incredible topics, family, as well as adoption, Catholic charities, your story. I appreciate you so much for sharing your story and being so open about it as you always have been. And congratulations to the men's team advancing to the NE10 Championships, and I'll be keeping a close eye on that as always. And, of course, talking about your Chicago Bears. So, Jeff, thank you for this Dolphin Dive. Thank you for your time. More than anything else on and off the air, thank you for your friendship and for always being positive and always bringing a light. A text message from you sounds different because you always have that positive personality. So thank you for that.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, no, we appreciate you. And it's been great being a chat with you over the years and developing a friendship and let's keep it going.
Absolutely. Good things to come and a hopeful championship. You heard me, Ethan. I said it. So let's see it. Jeff, thank you as always.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Bye.
Take care. That coming from Jeff Lonczak one more time here on Wake Up Call. That thing called life. First almost 2 years of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Moyne College on the Heights, which I cannot thank them enough. And really, Dr. Linda Lemura and Athletic Director Bob Beretta for believing in my vision, my mission, who I am, taking a chance on trusting a man of his word. I mean, we talk about, your word being your bond and your words have to meet your actions.
Recording in progress.
They trusted,
Recording stopped.
They trusted my word and gave me an opportunity to do what I do. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm grateful for that. And so I can't thank them enough for their belief in me and giving me the open door to do what I'm doing here. So it means a lot to me, and Moyne is a special place. They treat me like a Dolphin, and I can't thank them enough for that connection that we've had and that connection we continue to build and all the good that's come from that. And speaking of the good that has come from building connections, Dukes Knutson is going to be joining me in just a few minutes here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I am honored and privileged to know this wonderful human being. And on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, my tagline is where sports meets life. And Dukes lines that up perfectly for me as we will talk about faith in baseball, sports, and life. How do you bring it all together? How does it all work? How is it all cohesive? And the Tampa Bay Rays are having a lot of success. And I kind of blame Dukes for that because he's been around that team for a long time. And, he's built such a connection. That's how him and I built a connection with each other. And he's always kept his ties with different places. So we'll discuss the Rays, and we will also discuss those Rays that come down from the great Lord above. A lot of great stuff coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll take a fast break and be back momentarily with Dukes Knutson on faith and baseball right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicoli's.com. That's myavicoli's.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It is my honor and privilege to have Dukes here with us, picture in picture. Dukes Knutson with a connection to the baseball world and a strong faith as well. And he'll be able to paint the picture and tell the story of how that all comes together. But Dukes, you've been on the show before. We've been able to hear your voice. This is the first time that we get to be picture in picture and see your face, which I'm very happy to do. And it's good to see you, my friend. It's been a minute. So how are you?
Oh, man, I'm blessed beyond belief, Dan. Good to see you. It's been a while. And boy, after listening to those commercials, it's only 10 o'clock in the morning, but I'm hungry, man.
Yeah, so they definitely, I'll tell you, you got a reason to be. I am too. And I tell people that all the time. I get messages like, Dan, if you keep playing this, I'm going to drive from Maryland, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to be standing outside of Carvel. Well, that's the point. And I tell you, if you are hungry, you should be, because I'm very hungry. The 317 at Montgomery, I have the menu literally right off camera here because I'm starving, and I'm going on Thursday to shoot a video, and I think we're taste testing the burger. So I'm already,
Oh, man.
I'm ready for that tomorrow. But how are you? How are things?
Yeah, everything is great. It's, down here in Florida, we're 80 degrees, sunny, and I know some of the Northerners haven't gotten to that point yet. My hometown in Minnesota got 6 inches of snow Sunday. High school baseball teams are still waiting to get outside after 5 weeks of practicing in the gym. So we're pretty blessed down here.
Yeah, and I'll be down in Florida soon in just a couple weeks. I'll be down, so I'm excited for the opportunity to, be back around my second home and to just be able to relax. It's the second hub of my business, and it's my second home overall, so I love it dearly. And you're in Florida, but you've been in different places, Dukes. I mean, in the time that I've known you, we met through the Tampa Bay Rays. And, obviously from there, when we met back in, the 2000, probably 2009-10 area, when we met back then to where we are today, your life has taken a road. And I'd love for you to share that, to let people know exactly what you do, because they see you in the baseball world. They see you talk about faith, but you've bonded them both, and that's kind of led you on your own type of pilgrimage, so to speak, and I'd love for you to share that.
Well, I guess I should start by saying I'm originally from Minnesota. I was a high school teacher and a coach there for 34 years, and retired in 2007, and moved down here to Sarasota, Florida, basically to be a caretaker for my mother, who was 89 at the time, and she was quite healthy and independent. But at that age, we could see that she was declining a bit. And I tell people today, Dan, that was probably the greatest experience of my life, to be there for the last 4 years of her life and help her out. And again, we were blessed to have her until she was 93. She went home to the Lord. And during that time, I moved down here. Well, actually, right away after I moved down here, I had written a letter to the Tampa Bay Rays, gave them my background, and I wasn't one who was interested in retirement being a time of you just sit back and do nothing. So I was fortunate to land this gig with the Rays, where my job is basically to supervise the operation of the press box.
Yeah.
It's a great gig for an old retired high school baseball coach. It's certainly not taxing or demanding in nature, but a lot of little things that need to be done to make it work. I often tell people that whether it's a high school game or a college game or a pro game, people have no idea how many people are involved in putting on a game. With the Rays, literally, it's hundreds of people, from your parking lot attendants to your concession stand workers and And so I have a small part in that, and this is my 16th year now. 1 year I did spend in Minnesota with working for the Twins, supervising their press box, but otherwise I've been with the Rays now. This is my 16th year. When in the when I first started with the Rays in '08, and by the way, I guess I should mention this. For the 9 of the 10 years previous to '08 season, they were in last place in the American League East. And then they hired me to supervise the press box in '08, and we went to the World Series. Now, you can draw your own conclusions, but that's just the facts.
Yeah.
And I got to know our team chaplain. There's an organization called Baseball Chapel that provides a chaplain to every professional baseball team in America and Canada, minor leagues, major leagues. And so I got to know the chaplain from the Rays, and he got me involved in the Baseball Chapel program. I've been working with primarily the minor league players now for many years. Actually, I was involved in Baseball Chapel back in Minnesota as well. So, yeah. But it's just been such a blessing. I've gotten to know so many incredible people. I hear this a lot, and so it may sound like a cliche, but the Rays are just an absolutely incredible organization to work for. They're family orientated. They make everybody feel like they're part of the family, and it's been such a joy for me to be involved.
Yeah, and speaking here with Dukes Knutson about Major League Baseball and faith, you spent, like you said, most of this time with the Tampa Bay Rays, and I do partially blame you for them going to the World Series. It is your fault. So, but I mean, we met, like you said, you oversee the press box. We met there. It's been a minute. I want to get myself back there. I definitely do. The thing about when I talk about my life and history and what I've done with my company and whatnot, when I talk about Florida, I always bring it up. I always bring it up, and I miss it. When I bring up the Tampa Bay Rays, I think about walking into the. I literally see the press box. I see you standing there. That's what I remember. I also remember when they were the first to clinch the postseason in the entire major leagues. And I went downstairs, and I remember I walked in. We opened the door to the clubhouse, and as we're walking in, I look. I was one of the first people in, and I see like trash bags on the wall and like this tarp on the wall, and I'm like, what is going on? And I come in, and they're spraying champagne and beer and all this stuff, and Joe Madden was standing right next to me, and one of the players had goggles on. He tried to spray Joe. He missed, and he hit me, and he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, it's fine. And then I remember I got in my car. I still don't even remember how I dried off. I was drenched. I think I drove with the window down on the highway. I was absolutely drenched, and I thought to myself, I've never been drunk a day in my life, and if I get pulled over, I smell like I am alcohol. I've become the human impersonation of alcohol. So, but I still consider that one of the greatest moments of my life to be. And I remember telling people, I was like, I didn't grow up. It's funny. I like the Rays, and my dad and I always liked them because we were in the airport, and there was a woman selling Tampa Bay Devil Rays shirts. And I remember her telling us years and years ago, it was like a decade before it happened, she said, hey, you want to buy up these Devil Rays shirts because they're going to get rid of the devil and they're just going to be the Rays. And we bought matching shirts. And after a little bit, my dad and I, like a couple of years in, were like, this lady was full of it. She was just trying to sell them. And then they did become the Rays, which is hilarious. But yeah, I mean, we've had the Rays shirts for a long time. And Tropicana Field, I watched it getting built when we were down in Tampa. So I have a really cool connection to it. But my connection on the inside is with you and us meeting through that. And I'm not going to put you on the spot here on live video and audio. I'm just going to say I hope that I can get back in that press box and that you know a guy who knows a guy, because I would love to sit there for a game and just be able to see you in person, because it's been a long time, but I really appreciated those moments, and I appreciated that the Rays believed in what I was building over 10 years ago. and that they let me be there for that, and to be there for a team clinching the postseason it was an incredible. I still think about it as one of my greatest sports experiences of my life.
Dan, I'm with you. In fact, I was there with you in the locker room that night, and that it's something that not even a lot of players get to experience that, but let alone people like you and I who were on the outside. We got to experience that, what it's like to be in a locker room that clinched a pennant, and it's such a unique experience. And well, we can't wait for it to get back down here, Dan. Anytime, just let us know. We're ready.
Yeah, I would love that, and I miss it, and no, I can't wait. And I do pay close attention, and when the Tampa Bay Rays are doing well, I just, people know, I've been a Diamondback fan since they came out. My dad's a Yankee fan. My grandfather up in heaven, Yankee fan. I got Mets fans around me, so I'm watching that stuff. But I maybe don't say it to people who don't know me, but my family in Florida knows. And when I keep that eye on Tampa, and whenever I'm like, just make the playoffs, guys, just make the playoffs. So I got asked a question here in the live feed, and they want to know who your favorite Rays player is currently on this roster.
Oh, well, I'm really not one into superlatives. Who's the best, who's the worst, who's your favorite. So again, I'll have to generalize here. And again, I really believe this is probably true for most teams, but there's so many good people. Yeah. I get asked often about the New York media. I deal a lot with the media people, and they say, oh, those New York media people, they must be hard to deal with. And nothing could be further from the truth. Those guys are so nice, and I just love dealing with them. But Dan, there's only one player, and I'm not going to mention his name, but there's only been one player in my 16 years who really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Just some of the things that his demeanor, his attitude, just made me not want to be around him. But that's one player in 16 years.
Yeah.
The rest have been so gracious, and again, the Rays are so promoting of that type of character in their players. And I think one of the things that surprised me when I first joined the Rays organization is how everybody goes out of their way to make even the most lowly, and that's really what I am. I work in the background. But they make you feel so much a part of the whole thing. I was shocked when both in 20 when they presented me with a World Series ring. I never expected to get one of those. Those belong to the players and the staff, but they really do a good job of including everybody. But going back to your question, Dan, I have to I'll apologize to whoever asked the question, but I just can't single out a person.
Yeah, and knowing you, I didn't expect you to. So you answered the question the way I thought you would. You gave me the correct answer. So, but keeping with that, you and I, we care about people, and we care about them beyond wins and losses, beyond strikeouts and home runs, and being the way that we are. We know it's a business, but you and I we build fruitful connections, right? You build those connections with people to last a lifetime. And I'm going through it with the Jacksonville Jaguars right now with Marvin Jones Jr. because he's back in Detroit. But we learn that it's a business. And you learn that, you could be laughing with somebody on the Rays team and wake up in the morning and, they're playing for the Dodgers. They're not even gone. They're across the country. How have you dealt with change And with the business side of baseball and of sports, when you build these connections, and not that the connections are going to go away, but when you wake up in the morning and, you go down to the clubhouse and the jersey's gone and the nameplate is off of that locker. And I just feel like you and I, that hits different for us.
Yeah, and that's for me. And like you say, I know you share some of these same beliefs. When we value relationships, it really is hard when some of these players are gone so suddenly. If I can, I'll share a story with a player who I became very close with. He was traded to the Rays in 2013, David DeJesus.
Yeah.
Played for the Royals, the Cubs, a little bit with Oakland, and 4 days with the Nationals, by the way. And when he was traded to the Rays in 2013, and David was just, he had just established faith as a component in his life that he wanted to pursue. And so we met a lot one-on-one, and well, we developed a very close relationship. And my bosses saw that.
Yeah.
Well, David got traded at the trading deadline in 2015. He actually got traded about an hour before game time. And my boss came up to the press box so that he could tell me in person. He said he didn't want me to hear this from the media, and so he came and told me that David was traded, and that the media was going to be meeting with him like a half hour before the game for about 15 minutes. But he says, he told me, he said, when we're done with the media, he said, I'll give you a call, and I want you to go down there and have some time with David alone.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so kind of my boss to see that relationship that we had established. And so I went down, and David and I had some time together. This is, like I say, less than an hour after he had been notified he'd been traded. Of course, those players, once they're traded, they have to get out of there right away.
Yeah.
And I was able to, after the game, go over to David's apartment where he was living at the time and help him pack up a few things before he was getting out of town. But what's interesting about it is that David and I continued our relationship, which was built on faith. And every Friday at 3:00 my time, and it's noon his time. He lives out in LA, but we continue to this day. We have a Skype Bible study every Friday. We've been doing that for 8 years now, just the two of us. And so, to your point, you establish relationships in this organization, and it's not just with players. It's with even some of the media, even with some of my coworkers and the Rays staff, and it's. Relationships are the spice of life, no question about it.
Yeah, and I thank you for sharing that story about David DeJesus. The fact that you still have that Bible study, the fact that you still connect with him and that world. I mean, people hear that name. I know there's people watching and listening around the world right now that hear David DeJesus and are thinking to themselves, you talked to him? You had one conversation with him? what do you guys talk about? And to you, it's a friend, and that bond, that connection. How would you describe him? Because so many people saw him, pick up a bat and play on a field. How would you describe David DeJesus of all the time that you spent with him?
Oh, good question. It's true. Let me go back a little bit. The first Rays game I worked in 2008, and I was sitting in the third row, the back row of the press box, well before game time, and I was doing some work, and all of a sudden somebody sat down next to me, and I really didn't pay attention because I was concentrating on what I was doing. And all of a sudden I looked up, and it was Jim Palmer. Now, Jim Palmer is a Hall of Fame pitcher from the Baltimore Orioles. Currently does TV work with them, and I have to tell you, Dan, that being a first time worker in the press box, I was awestruck. I thought, oh my gosh, Jim Palmer is sitting next to me. That has so dissipated over the years.
Yeah,
I have the opportunity and the blessing to see these people as people.
Yeah.
Not as Hall of Fame baseball players. And when you ask about David, David is so genuine. He's a people person. And if do we have time that I can share another quick story about him?
Dukes, I will sit here and I'm sitting here right now, honestly, and I'm not saying this to say this, and I'm not saying this to interrupt you either. I hear things over this, like I said, we've had so many different people on the show over almost 20 years of being a broadcaster. There are moments in history where I tell myself, this is one of the greatest shows that I will do, and this is a time capsule. I'm sitting here telling this, like I'm listening to your story, and I'm saying to myself, I hope every single human being that possibly can listens to this, because it's so different, exciting, unique. It's on the inside, and I love it. So I'm not saying it to say it, and I'm not saying it because we're friends. I will literally sit here for however long you want to talk today, because I already like what I heard so far. So go ahead with your story.
Well, I appreciate that, but
yeah.
This is probably my favorite David DeJesus story.
Okay.
It must have been in the spring. It was during spring training, so I think it was either 2014 or 2015, and we had a receptionist at our facility in Port Charlotte. She was a jack of all trades. She was a secretary. She answered the phones, a receptionist person. And she knew that David and I had a connection, and where she was positioned in the facility at the front door, oftentimes players would, as they arrived at the facility, they would walk in on the way to the clubhouse, and most of them would say hi.
Yeah.
Well, one day, this gal's name, I'll call her Mary. Mary came up to me, and she was in tears. And I thought there was something wrong. I said, Mary, what's the matter? Are you okay? And as she was crying, she told me that that morning that David had walked into the facility, and instead of just saying hi and walking back to the clubhouse, he stopped.
Yeah. And
he asked her her name. He asked her, what her job entailed, and he took an interest in her. And after a couple minutes of conversation, he thanked her. He said, thank you for everything you do for us. And so when Mary saw me later that day, she came up, and again, in tears, she explained the story. She says, that's the first time in 5 years a player has ever asked or thanked me for what I do. And she was so overcome with gratitude and joy. And David and I have talked about that a lot, about how simple, how easy it is to really make somebody's day.
Yeah.
It's just a simple conversation like that. And these players, and most of them know this too, these players are in a position where that's all it takes is a simple hi, or a high five, whatever. And somebody's going to remember that for the rest of their life. So that's the kind of person David is. He just he loves people. He loves to please people, and he's quite honestly, he's on fire for the Lord right now. And he does a lot of volunteer work. um, um, just a real genuine Christian man.
Yeah, and that's and I appreciate you sharing that. A couple stories about David De Jesus, and it's how can you not be a fan of him if you weren't until this morning? I guess you are now. And you talk about the little things that a player can do. My Papa Joe, who lives in St. Augustine, he's like another dad to me, and he's my uncle. But I call him Papa Joe, call him PJ, and he's actually on the shows with me every Thursday. He comes on the broadcast and that was started with we would be at the kitchen table in St. Augustine and we'd just be talking, and he would challenge me in sports and challenge me in knowledge, and he would always give me more credit than I deserve, and it made me want to learn more. It made me want to grow. And he's on fire for the Lord too, and he's very passionate, and so is Miss Mary, his wife, and my other mom. So talking with them and sitting with them, I thought to myself, I can't be selfish. I have these great conversations with Papa Joe about sports and life. I can't be selfish. I have to share them with the world. So I said, would you come on the show? He said, you want me to come on the show? I said, why don't you come down? I said, I'll be down in Florida. We'll broadcast from here. Come on the show. So he came on once, and he came on twice. Then I said, what about football season? He said, let's do college football. Then I said, what about football season in general? We'll do college and the NFL. And then a couple of years ago, we started doing every Thursday, all year long, an hour to 2 hours. And, people have come to know him. And here's the thing is Papa Joe out there with a career timeline of Bob Costas? No. But he has the knowledge, he has the information, he has the care, he has the love. So when some people, look at the thing and, people over time say, well, let me get Michael Jordan, let me get this guest, let me get that, let me get, Alex Rodriguez and this and that. I would put Papa Joe above all of them because every conversation we have is a time capsule, as I spoke about before. I can go back in my life and say that we have had many years of sharing a passion for sports, a love for each other, and a kindness, a generosity, prayer, God on the air every week, every Thursday. And I bring him up because you talk about the little things that people do. And once a day, at least once a day, he'll text me and he'll just put, what's up? Just to let me know he's thinking of me. And so in the awesome way that God works, covering the Jaguars now for 12 years, on site, on location for the majority of it, I'm coming out of the locker room this past season. It was after they had won the last playoff game that they won. So we're coming out of there, and so they beat the Chargers, and I had seen Trevor in the locker room, and I'd covered Trevor at Clemson, and I said, congrats, Trevor, and he said, thank you, I appreciate it. And then so later on, he went and did his press conference. I stayed in the locker room, did one-on-ones. I'm leaving the locker room. I'm like the last media person. I'm one of the last people in the locker room. And I'm walking out, and as I'm walking out, here comes one of their media workers who's incredible. Shout out to David. So David comes out, and he's laughing and talking with Trevor, and you can see that Trevor has humanity because Trevor's not this bigger than life guy. He's, just laughing and joking around, and he sees me, and as I'm walking out, he looks at me and he goes, "Sup?" And so I came home to Papa Joe and I said, you wouldn't believe who what's up to me today. I said Trevor Lawrence what's up to me, and he's like, that's what's up. And so it's little moments like that where, to Trevor, it's a little thing. To me, it's a kindness, it's a goodness, it's more than an interview. And then it also plays right into the fact that Papa Joe's a Jaguars fan and he what's-ups me all the time. So I felt like it was like God's way through Trevor to be like, look at how tiny this world is. Like, look at how cool this stuff is. So, out of everything I've ever done with the Jaguars, that wasn't an interview. One of my favorite moments.
Yeah. Yeah. And that reminds me, Dan, of I have the pleasure, the privilege to work with so many minor league players.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's David De Jesus or the last person picked in the draft. These guys they all have a dream.
Yeah.
And I read a story a couple of years ago about of all the professional baseball players who sign a professional contract. only 7% of them ever make it to the major leagues. So you sign your first pro contract, and 93% of those players are not going to make it.
Yeah.
Their dreams will be shattered. And through these relationships that we developed, whether they make it or not, we can help each other through the adversities. We can rejoice for them in the successes, and that's the bond of faith, as far as I'm concerned. We live life. One of my favorite scripture verses, John 10:10, where Jesus says, "I have come to give you life abundantly." And whether again we go through trials, adversities, we can still have life abundantly. And I'm pretty intentional about trying to stay in contact with these guys, even after their playing careers are over. And that is it's probably a bigger blessing to see them grow as men, grow as husbands and fathers. It's so much more important than a baseball player. And again, I don't mean to diminish the importance of their dream to be that professional baseball player, but there are more important things in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about Bible verses. There's one in my house, and again, how God works. I was going through stuff in my spare bedroom, and I opened up. There was a box, and I opened up this box. I had no idea what was in it, and there's a cross in it. And it's a cross, and it has flowers on it, and it has a Bible verse on the right side of it. And still to this day, I have no idea who bought it. I have no idea who it was for. I don't know why it was in my house. But I go daily into the room. I touch the cross. I kiss it. And it says one Bible verse on it. Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God.
I've got that in my spare bedroom on the wall. That same verse.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it in there, but in my living room, I have
Love God, love people. Period. Yeah.
I just lost you.
No, you're good. I got you.
I don't see you anymore. I don't know what. Oh, there.
You got me. So I can see you on here.
Oh, there you go. No, I lost you again. I don't know what. Technology and I do not get along well at all.
That's okay. We can see you. So
love God, love people. Period. That's the whole Bible condensed into that short phrase.
Yeah, and the be still and know that I am God. The reason why I have that is for the sole purpose of reminding me to be patient and reminding me to stop trying to force things to happen and to let God bring into my life what he wants to be into my life. Also, in two places in my house, it's in my studio right over my right shoulder. It's on the wall, and it's also in a bathroom in my home. But it says, it's the prayer that many people know, but I had to learn it the hard way over the years, which is the God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that is on my door going out of my studio, and on my door coming into the studio, there is it's not a Bible verse, but it's a quote about, it says, compromise where you can and where you can't, don't. And it goes through this whole process. It's a long quote, but at the end of it, it says, when you know something, when you truly believe in something, and somebody says move, and it's like when somebody tells you to move, you plant and you know that you're doing the right thing. You plant yourself firmly like a tree and you say, no, you move. And so going into my studio is a reminder to be strong in your convictions, be open as a person, but to know who you are and fight for that. And on the way out, it's to have the serenity, courage, and wisdom. So something going in, something coming out.
We're certainly living in a world that needs to hear that message, aren't we?
Yeah, we're living in a world that needs to hear a lot of things. And, in God we trust shouldn't just be on our money. So,
amen.
there's a lot of places we can go. There's a lot of things we could talk about, and I will have you back for sure because of the fact that we're just barely opening the door on this. But I do want to get to a couple questions that came through that are baseball related. And one of them, do you think the new Major League Baseball scheduling is going to be in the Rays' favor since the AL East division is so strong? For those that don't know, I want to paint this picture. So the number of divisional games for each team decreased this season from 76 to 52. Each team will face each divisional foe 13 times across 4 series. 52 games will be split up between home and road games, though there is an imbalance of how many road to home games each team is going to have. Now, intra-league, there will be little change to this. The schedule that they're in right now for 2023 has 64 intra-league games, which are games against non-division opponents from the same league, and that's down from 66 to 64. The interleague games of American League teams playing National League teams and vice versa, this is where the schedule has changed. From 20 matchups to 46 beginning here in 2023, and these are the quote-unquote natural rivalries that they try to do geographically, which sees our AL play the NL more often, as I said before, going from 20 matchups to 46 this season. Angels, Dodgers, Astros, Rockies, Athletics, Giants, Blue Jays, Phillies, Guardians, Reds, Mariners, Padres, Orioles, Nationals, Rangers, Diamondbacks, Rays, Marlins, Red Sox, Braves, Royals, Cardinals, Tigers, Pirates, Twins, Brewers, White Sox, Cubs, and Yankees and Mets. Your thoughts on the change to the schedule, and if you think it has any positive or negative effect on the Rays being in such a difficult division of the AL East?
Actually, I think it's positive for every team. I've always been in favor of a balanced schedule. It makes it so much more fair. In past years, yes, playing the Yankees and the Red Sox in particular 19 times, while the Guardians and the White Sox and Twins might be playing the Tigers and the Royals 19 times. It's just, to me, it's just not fair. The more balanced we can be, the better. Now, Dan, I'm old school. Okay, I'd be happy to go back to where American League plays American League, National League plays National League, meet in the World Series. Yeah. But that's old school. That's never going to happen. So as the more balanced the schedule is, it's what I prefer. Obviously, I guess from the Rays' point of view, yeah, you're playing the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays less times. Yeah. And playing, more, the Cincinnatis and the Detroits and the Pittsburghs more times. So I guess you could call that an advantage, but it's the same for everybody.
Well, the thing is, I guess it makes those divisional games ever more important, right, when it comes to standings at the end of the day, because with less games, you have to do more with less, essentially.
Yeah. So I'm all for it. I know you're probably going to get into this, but the pitch clock, wow, what a difference that's made, huh?
Yeah. Well, and so, yeah, with the new rules, with the pitch clock, with the amount of times that a pitcher can disengage and what that means, that the phantom balls and the phantom strikes, would love to get your thoughts on that. The bigger bases and the disengagement has obviously been a hope to lead to more stolen bases, which it has immediately in the first few weeks of baseball. So I'd love to get your take on these rules that have adjusted themselves and where you think it's at.
Well, when they first started talking about them, really a couple of years ago, my initial reaction was I was against it. Again, I'm old school and I don't want to mess around with it. It took me about 20 minutes watching the very first game of the year this year. That I became a fan of the pitch clock. The game kept moving. I don't know if you saw, but last night the Guardians and the Tigers, the second game of their doubleheader, was played in 1 hour and 50 minutes, 1-0 game. They played a doubleheader in less than 4 hours. That oftentimes was a single game, 4-hour game. Yeah. And what for me, it hasn't cost anything in terms of action. It's basically wiped out all the, the players pulling on their uniforms or taking their glove off, putting it back on, and all this dead time. And so yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. I really still the jury's still out on the shift, banning the shift.
Yeah.
It still kind of rubs me the wrong way that we have to legislate where players can play. I've always been I was a high school coach for many years, and we always taught our players to hit it where they ain't. Yeah. And and I've just never been able to figure out why if a team's going to put, virtually everybody on one side of the field, why can't you hit it to the other side of the field? And I understand, it's a power game today and all that kind of stuff, but yeah. I still had a little bit of problem. But again, I will admit that it seems to be working.
Yeah.
There's I don't think it's affected the game as much as maybe I thought it was going to. And the larger bases, apparently, I mean, there's certainly been more running this year, and it's a safety factor as well. So I don't have any problem with that one. But overall, I've been so pleased with these rule changes.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, I think when it comes to the shift, this is where you're taking away individual teams' scheming. And so when you take away scheming, then, in baseball, like management, other sports call it coaching, but you're taking away what the nuances of what makes a team special and unique. So that's where I would be against it. And with that same motif, speaking here with Dukes Knutson about Major League Baseball and faith, truly embodying what Wake Up Call is with our tagline, where sports meets life. The Rays have been unique. They've been different in how they pitch, in how many pitch, and what they do. Their chess game is different than other people's chess games. So I would love to get your thoughts, Dukes, being so close with the team over so many years, of what you think about how the Rays continue to keep their identity. When we talk about, taking away the shift and that taking away nuances of what makes teams different, the Rays have nuances of who they are that make them unique and different. How they attack a game, how they scheme, and how they fight to win is different than what we see in other places, and it's given them an identity. What do you think about that identity?
Yeah, it certainly has over the years. I mean, the Rays are one of the first teams to use a shift, if we want to talk about that. The thing that really awes me about the Rays organization is, now let me say this first. If I would make the world's worst general manager, Dan. I would have no concept of when to trade a player, when to give them an extension. So they make trades that I admit that my first reaction is, what are you doing? And yet they've proven to me and to, I think, most Rays fans over the years that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's why I marvel. To me, that for me is their identity, is that they are able to see in players something that, even though I've been involved in this game for 50 years, I don't see the same thing as they see.
Yeah.
And it just gives me so much admiration for them. They have a unique ability, I believe, that they take players. I'll use Jason Adam as an example. Jason Adam was kind of a journeyman relief pitcher, signed as a free agent before the 22 season with the Rays. So he wasn't, teams weren't knocking his door down. He signed just like the day before spring training started, and he was an all-star.
Yeah.
They turned him into an all-star. He's been, I would say, maybe their most effective relief pitcher the last 2 years. Now, what happened? I give so much credit to the scouting staff, the coaching staff, that they take these players and turn them into really quality ball players. They may not have the name recognition, but they're certainly effective.
Well, and that's the thing is, like you said, and people have seen this for a long time, doing more with less. And the Rays have been notorious for having players on their team that are not household names. They become household names, and then somebody comes and buys them up. But they keep finding people to come in. So this is the thing. I mean, some teams build up. Sometimes a player comes to a team, things work out, they get built up, the team gets built up, the guy gets a ton of money and he leaves, and then they can't function for 3 years, 5 years, a decade since they lost that player. What is it in Tampa? What's in the water in Tampa Bay that they can have these non-household names become household names? The rest of the major leagues come calling. They offer these mega contracts. The guys leave, and then the Rays bring in somebody else who's not a household name, and they do it again. There's something to be said about culture and environment when you can have a non-household name become a household name, they leave and get a ton of money somewhere else, and then you say, well, what are they going to do without Evan Longoria? What are they going to do without these players? And yet they always find an answer, and they're doing it again this year.
Yeah, and they have, again, that unique ability to look ahead. Kevin Kiermaier was one of the most popular players the Rays have ever had.
Yeah.
And they basically let him walk this year. But during mid-season last year, they traded for Jose Siri. Again, really a no-name. He was somewhat struggling with Houston. But they've turned him into basically a second Kevin Kiermaier. Now he's on the injured list right now, but he's had a great start to the year. So the other thing I think the depth of the organization is so evident.
Yeah.
We've lost a ton of our starters this year already, and yet, we bring up this kid, Taj Bradley, who, he's been a top prospect for a few years now. In fact, I met Taj when he first signed at 17 years old. 5 years ago. He's 22 now. But he's been pitching in the minor leagues for these 4 or 5 years, and he's proven now he's ready. He came up, he's pitched 2 games already. He's 2-0. Yeah. Shutout last night for 5 1/3 innings. So there's a lot of depth there. Our AAA team in Durham right now is a lot of those guys could easily be playing on major league teams right now.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to culture, environment. You're bringing in the right players, grooming the right players, bringing them up through the minor leagues. And like you said, they could step in, they could be effective, and it's just talent. It's just understanding and knowing talent and being able to find, because I can't tell you how many teams, not just baseball, but across sports, and you know this, Dukes, so many teams lose their superstar, and then they're a shell of themselves for 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, 5 years. And the Rays just keep on keeping on. And what I love about the Rays is the fact that the world, all these baseball fans, they have to look to Tampa right now because Tampa is the story. And Tampa's done that numerous times where people, they talk about the field. Oh, I don't like the digs there. I don't like the arena. I don't like you. I'm sure you hear that all the time about where the Rays play. I've been in it. You've been in it. How do you respond to that when the national story is, oh, they got to get a new ballpark. This is ridiculous. I don't like it. I saw it getting built, so I've seen it from beginning to now. I'd love to get your thoughts. You were smiling when I said it, so I want to know what you think.
My standard response is, we love the Trop. those of us who are there on a nightly basis. I've talked to players, the front office staff. There's far more people who love the Trop than you would ever imagine. Now, I understand why people who maybe only come once or twice a year I understand why they don't. Some people don't like dome stadiums, period. I'm telling you, Dan, you have to have a dome stadium in Tampa, Florida, St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah.
During the summer, it is mid 90s when games starting at 7 o'clock, 6:30. The humidity matches it. It's 95% humidity, and you can almost guarantee there will be a thunderstorm every night. And so you have to have a dome. Now, if you don't like a dome, I'm sorry, but you got to have a dome. So we play in 72-degree air conditioning every night. And like I say, there's a lot more people who love the Trop than you would imagine.
I got no problem with the Trop. I don't know why I get so much hate out there. I don't understand it, but
I got to tell you this. There was a national radio man who visited a couple of years ago, and he's on. I heard him often speak on radio, MLB radio, and he really trashed the Trop, and yet he had never been there. And so when he came to the Trop, I asked him. I said, "Why do you trash the Trop, especially since you've never been here?"
Yeah.
And I pointed out all these things that. Well, the next week I heard him on radio, and he was just praising the Trop. And so again, I understand some people aren't going to like it, but
yeah. Don't knock
you
it
can't
till
please everybody.
No, you can't knock it till you try it. I mean, how you talk about something that you don't even know. So before I let you go, Dukes Knutson here with me talking about faith in baseball on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Like I said, I got to have you back because there's a lot of conversation that we have not had, but there's a lot to be had here, and we've only just begun with Dukes, and that's how I feel with them all the time. I feel like every conversation leaves me wanting another one, and I feel like the last time I was in the Trop, walking away from Dukes, I kind of looked over my shoulder like, I don't want to end this conversation. I feel like I have to end it because we're going home, but I don't want to. And that's how I feel to this day. We got a couple that came in that would love to get your thoughts on. Do you expect, with your connection to Minnesota, do you expect the Twins to continue to contend season long for a possible divisional championship in the AL Central this year is one question. And the second one is, how great is Luis Arraez? I think he is going to win the NL batting title. He just keeps on hitting. So those are the two comments we got here.
Is it possible for them to contend? Absolutely, it's possible. Will they? I wish I had more confidence. Cleveland's certainly going to be tough. Expect Chicago to be tougher, but again, they're not off to a great start either this year. But I would say Cleveland is the favorite in the division. I'm certainly hopeful the Twins can contend. The Arraez trade was something that no Minnesota fan wants to lose, a guy like Luis Arraez. Yeah. But I got to tell you, Dan, I was one of the, I guess, few that I know of anyway, that was so in favor of this trade. To get Pablo Luez was, to me, it was a win-win trade. To get something, you got to give up something. And Pablo Lopez has certainly proven his worth already. In fact, they just gave him a 4-year extension. So both teams come out winners in that one.
Yeah, and my apologies, Arraez, not Arraez, as I had stated before, misspoke on that. But before I let you go, Dukes, to bring it all back to faith, that is everything that you are. And I know you love baseball, but I know you love the Lord more than anything else.
Amen.
How do you, because I know that you run different things and provide different opportunities for players and whatnot. I know we can't get into the specifics of it all, but what you can tell us about how you try to build a bridge between faith and sports in your daily life.
Well, baseball and the game of life, there's so many parallels, and that's I really believe the Lord has given me this venue to share my faith and to encourage others to at least give faith a chance. As you said, it's everything. let's face it, 100 years from now, your show or the Rays baseball, it's not going to mean anything. Not going to mean anything. But where we are 100 years from now is going to make a huge difference in our lives. So I try to establish relationships, and I try to talk about what's important in life, and it's been a good journey for me.
And it's a journey that has made this man by himself when it comes to there is no replacement, there is no fill-in for Dukes Knutson, not in my life and not after all these years. So you meet somebody special when there is nobody that can be their stunt double, so to speak. So with that being said, Dukes, I want to thank you for today. I want to thank you for the conversation that felt like 5 minutes, but yet was an hour. And I, I'm a man of my word, and I stand on it. I have every intention of coming down and seeing you, and I have every intention of coming and covering a Rays game. It's been way too long. I miss it. I still have my Rays credentials that hang on my door in my studio, and I look forward to the opportunity of seeing you soon.
Well, you're kind, and I look forward to that day myself, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dukes, and God bless.
Well, bless you too, man.
That coming from Dukes Knutson here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Cannot thank him enough for it. It wasn't starting my career. I was an independent contractor. That was kind of the bare bones of starting my own company, starting my own brand, starting my own message. Like, I had always been doing my own brand, but that was when I was really building my name more than the station I was on. I was building who I am more than ESPN or Fox or Yahoo or whatever. And the Rays took a chance on me. Jaguars took a chance on me. They took a chance that I was going to come in there and, be a contributing member of the media and do my job and do it well and be a professional. And that was over a decade ago. And I really honestly can't thank them enough. And Dukes, as well as the staff itself. I mean, there's people within the Rays organization that took a chance on me. And I am grateful. I am forever grateful for the people that took a chance on me. I got to think back now. So it was like 2010. And I'm going to be 37 this year. And that was 13 years ago. So I was 24 years old and had been out of college for 3 years, and they believed in me. They gave me a shot, and I wouldn't have met Dukes without it. So I appreciate that, and I love that, and I never forget the people that, gave me a credential back in the day where some people totally disrespected me, put me down, treated me like a nobody, treated me like the gum at the bottom of their shoe. The Rays didn't do that. They didn't do that. They never did that. Jaguars didn't do that. And I appreciate that. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back after this. This show literally ran in what to me felt like not even 20 minutes. I had two of the best guests on and we're already past 11 o'clock. Jeff, Dukes, y'all made my day. We'll take a step aside and we'll keep it going after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, hanging out with you where sports meets life here inside of a beautiful week, midweek in April of 2023. So very happy to be here with you, hanging out where sports meets life. Can't thank you enough for being a part of the broadcast, and many thanks to my incredible guests today that truly made this show something very, very special. So big thanks to Jeff Lonczak, the men's and women's tennis coach at Moyne College, inside of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Moyne. Perfect timing, God. Thank you for that. And inside of this Dolphin Dive. And a big time thanks to Dukes Knutson, bonding faith in baseball and speaking on the many, many years, including right now, that he's worked with the Tampa Bay Rays. He is there for yet another run with the Rays. Early on in the season, they have the best record in baseball, taking care of the Trop as well, winning at home, and continuing to impress. And I love every minute that I get to talk with Dukes and with Jeff, both wonderful people, and both people that share their faith, share their positivity, and share their goodness. You know, they define humanity in a different way. I tell people all the time, you know, I don't like when somebody does something bad and they say, well, I'm only human. I'm only human, you know? It's like, oh, well, they shot somebody. Well, they're only human. They stole something, but they're only human. I said we should change that. And when we do good things and good things only, should we say, I'm human. I held the door open for someone. I'm human. I didn't cheat on somebody when given the opportunity. I'm human. I am an honest person. I'm human. I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm human. I show up on time. I'm human. We should be using humanity as a positive thing and not an excuse. I'm going to say that again. We should be using humanity as a positive thing and not an excuse. Big time thanks to everybody that's been with us on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, as well as on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. However you're listening, wherever you're listening, all around the world, thank you for making Wake Up Call a part of your mornings, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And a big shout out to everybody that goes and finds us in the archives on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, and there's more. There's more being added, which I love. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any one of your favorite podcasting platforms. We're very hard to miss. So you can go to any one of these places, or you can just go to a Google search engine, type in Wake Up Call, or I said Google search engine, any search engine. Whatever you want to use. Google, Bing, Safari, whatever floats your boat. Is Mozilla Firefox? That's still there? So you could use that too. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, on any one of these podcasting outlets, as well as just going to a search engine, typing it in. You'll find us there as well. Big time shout out to our incredible partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, as well as K9 Camp Dog Daycare, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, PB&J's Lunchbox, Great Lakes Honda City, 317 at Montgomery Street. Fantabulous menu that they have over there. I get to try new things all the time with Downtown with Dan that we have on site, on location, exclusively downtown at 317 at Montgomery Street. The name of the location is the name of the restaurant, so make sure you find them on 317 at Montgomery Street in downtown Syracuse. We'll be there this week with our newest Downtown with Dan, so make sure you look out on our social media for that. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, Mother's Cupboard, the home of my exclusive Cuse McMother sandwich, my spin on the breakfast sandwich, bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Cut it up and eat it with syrup, or pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Powdered cinnamon and sugar on the top of it as well. And it has sold incredibly since the moment that it came out, because this community is awesome. I love that Mother's Cupboard is a Syracuse staple, a pillar of our community. I love that they've given me the opportunity of being able to work with them, and that we're a couple years into this. And on top of all of that, never in a million years did I think that I could have my own sandwich at a place that is as incredibly connected to our community as Mother's Cupboard is. It's one of the greatest honors of my life. To you, it's a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. To me, I don't even have words. To me, it's so much of just building relationships, loving people up, God being good, and putting you in the right direction, helping you find the right people. Much, much love to Mother's Cupboard. Go and try my Cuse McMother. And I cannot thank you enough for everybody that has the Cuse McMother 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Mother's Cupboard, 3709 James Street in Syracuse. Chick-fil-A, Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, Pizza Man, as well as Avicoli's and Chick-fil-A Watertown. We're going to take our final step aside on today's broadcast, and we'll wrap things up right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. And of course, on our credible partners, I've not forgotten about Lemoyne and Bryan and Stratton, but I have special messages for each of them after this.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cabal Studios, hanging out with you where sports meets life, and appreciate you so very much for being here with us on our social media, Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, as well as on youtube.com /Wake Up Call DT, and of course Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on that YouTube link, as well as facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on our internet streaming radio, wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. We are so proud to be the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Moyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Prime real estate for the Dolphins every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time here on Wake Up Call. We have the opportunity to share stories with you from the Dolphins in our partnership every first and third Wednesday of each month, AD and DT, with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, every second and fourth Wednesday, the Dolphin Dive, diving into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. You can find the library that keeps on growing on the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. So go to wakeupcalldt.com, click on Lemoyne, bookmark it, save it, love it, forever, subscribe. And you could subscribe to our YouTube channel to find our Lemoyne content. Lemoyne is right there on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Big time shout out to Jeff Lonczak today for the incredible message that he gave and for being so open about his story. Love it. Appreciate it. You can find all of it on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and in the ever-growing Lemoyne page, as I mentioned before, on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information on your Dolphins, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. I don't know why I said it like that. I have no idea. Lemoyne! Come on now. This is some Ted Lasso. That's the problem. I've been watching a lot of Ted Lasso, and it's coming out. LeMoyneDolphins.com. Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, proud exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, telling the stories of their student athletes, coaches, and administration. You will find your Bobcats in the Bobcat Buzz, which is what we call what you've never seen before, which is a fantastic conversation and fantastic conversations, wonderful spotlights, and consistent message bringing you the Bobcats all year round, talking with the wonderful people that make up the team that is there on James Street, the teams that are there on James Street, but the overall bigger team of Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse on James Street in Syracuse, New York. You can check out our Bobcat content by going to the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt for the Bobcat Buzz. Search it there after you subscribe. And for more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Inaugural season for the baseball team. We are making history every single day by having this Bryan and Stratton Syracuse baseball team here with us this season in 2023. History is being made daily. And I am so grateful, so honored, so thankful, and so proud that they have allowed me to be a part of any of this, let alone all of it. So much love to you all. I appreciate you. To the men's and women's soccer team, the men's and women's basketball teams, and a big time shout out to all of our graduation people. How about that? A lot of our student athletes have graduated as of just a few days ago. So big shout out, big congratulations to your graduation. And I can't wait to see all the beautiful things you're going to do to contribute to society in a positive way in your next chapters. God bless and much love. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, once again, find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, the Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Check out the Instagram story. Every day I try to post something, and when I post a quote from me, I sign it. I sign each of them individually. So if you see my signature, that is my message to you, to me, and to the world to hopefully help you think and gain some knowledge, gain some wisdom, laugh, smile, cry happy tears, stick up for yourself, have courage, have confidence. I always write those messages in an effort to pick myself up and level up, and the same thing I pray to do for you as well. Always trying to help other people, and of course, trying to send myself a message when I need to hear it as well. So, thanks to my guests once again, Jeff Lonczak and Dukes Knutson. Thank you to you. Thank you to God. Above all, God is what makes my life possible, makes your life possible. Thank you to God for everything that you do. Prayers and well wishes for everybody. And I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that God gives me a chance every day. and that he woke me up today to give me another shot. So many, many thanks for that. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Thank you for everything that you've brought to the table. And Greg said good stuff, DT. Ask Jeeves is another place where you could find Wake Up Call. That's good. Syndergaard versus Scherzer today. Let's go Mets. First time ever. Let's see here. First time ever Noah pitches against his former team. Yeah, good stuff. And what else? Also, great chance Verlander is rehabbing next week, Friday in Binghamton. Come on down and experience Rumble Pony Nation. They used to be called the Stud Muffins. So if you remember that, folks. And Greg said, get the most out of that Apple TV Plus membership. Ted Lasso winding down to the final episode. Yeah, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for Ted Lasso to be done. I'm going to cry. I don't want to cry. But I don't know. Every show has a message. Literally every show has a message, if not multiple messages, things that I take with me. And there's one that where Roy Kent says, he says, blank fine. You deserve to feel like you've been struck by blanking lightning. And that one hit home with me in a way that I genuinely can't describe. So I love it. I appreciate the message. Ted Lasso, you're coming in loud and clear. So whoever created that show, thank you. I'm getting the message. And thank you to God for sending it out to me. God bless y'all. I appreciate y'all. As we always say here on Wake Up Call, I don't know the perfect words to end the show because I don't say goodbye. Anybody that knows me, I say, when I'm on the phone, I don't say goodbye. And I'll say see you. I say see you. I never say goodbye. Because goodbye is final. So I don't do that. So I'll say see you. And so it's really weird if I'm on the phone with like a telemarketer or somebody calling me to like make an appointment because they say goodbye. And it never feels right for me to say it. So I will see you all, God willing, very soon. In the meantime, be good to yourself and each other. If you've never prayed, never a bad time to start. God loves you no matter how you feel. And I love you all too. I hope you have a great day. God bless. No stress. Do your best. And you're never going to get this day again. You're never going to get it back. So just celebrate it. Stop being negative. We all have reasons to be negative. And we all have reasons to be positive. And if you tell me you have no reason to be positive, I'm going to tell you God loves you and you woke up today. Those are two massive reasons that no equal. God loving you and you having a chance at life today. Do you need any more blessings? If you have life and you have love, I would think you got it all. I hope you have a great day. I hope you're good to each other and I hope you're good to yourself. And God bless you as always. Keep your stress down and do your best because to God, that's always going to be enough. And to the people that really love and care about you, your best is always more than enough. I'll talk to you soon. Be well.